The people need to come back to South Africa, any part of the country. The people need to come back to a site which is away from human habitation. There mustn't be communities nearby so that there are no mistakes of people getting to wander into a quarantine area. And thirdly, that it must be an area that is so isolated that it is possible to create 2 lines of a perimeter security patrol. They will be patrolled by the army, they will be patrolled by the police. This means, therefore, that there is no chance anybody can mix with the people. We only are observing them. They are not criminals. They are not sick. They are not patients. They are just South Africans that are waiting their time for the virus to bend itself over in case there could have been any, so that 14 days can tell us what is happening. So then the issue was, there were a number of people who were living in single rooms as individuals. We need to make sure that that number is catered for, so that those people must be able to get the freedom and the privacy of living in a room, their own rooms. The other one was that there are others in that group. 8 of the people are families who are 19 people in total. Now there must be houses which accommodate those units of families so that the family is not separated, they live together. Now, they went through the country, 84 sites that they went through. The first one, I recall, they spoke to us about a wonderful site in Uppington. But when they described it, it was a bare field where if there was an army that was involved in this operation, they would have just put up tents and then that would have been it with sleeping bags, and that should have been enough for the soldier. But we said, look, these are not soldiers. So they don't go camping, they don't do tents, they don't do sleeping bags. They go into a room and so on. So this is the kind of thing that we have to do. And then, of course, there must be continuous, proper catering with normal food, which any South Africans should be able to feel that they are being dignified in the way that they are being managed to deal with their responsibility. So those are some of the issues. But in addition, there had to be a nearby landing area. These are some of the issues that had to be looked at. So 3 areas were ultimately shortlisted, and each time each one of you was asking, they would ask that, we had you, people had gone to this place, they had gone to that place, and we said yes. They did have. In fact, you haven't mentioned others. They went to other 84 of them. One of them was Tabanchu, and the challenges with Tabanchu was that the numbers of rooms did not quite fit this situation, and the army was not sure about the size of the airport that was available to be able to carry the size of the aircraft. And because of that, it meant that then a few other things needed to be done, and of course, that was the challenge. The second one was an area outside KwaZulu-Natal, outside Vryheid, called the Tala Game Lodge, Jondwe. And then, of course, everything was done. Everybody went there and surveyed the place. Except the place is wonderful in terms of the location. Except the problem was that the rooms, there are quite a lot of chalets and rooms which are close to one another, and rooms where you've got one room and several beds. So you count the beds, it looks nice, but when you count the rooms, then they actually come running short. So because of that, that was one problem. The other problem was that the nearest airport that could carry the aircraft was too far. So it was very difficult to actually land in King Shaka and drive 4 or 6 hours into the thing. So that was changed. Then, of course, the general had gone to the last venue, which was Limpopo. They found this one to be ideal, and therefore they raised this thing. I can just indicate to you that these things were taking place at a very, very short space of time. The long and short of it is that we have now, a decision has now been made that this site is the one that will be used. There's been agreement signed with the owners of this particular place. There's also been work that has been done with the staff, and all that has been properly done, negotiated, and put behind us. Now, we want to just confirm, we thought you, as media, you must come in here today, because it's the last time you'll ever come here. After this place is a quarantine area. No media is allowed. No flyover is allowed, so you can't even send a drone out here to come and take photos. You can't do anything. No police can come, no other people can come in. The police are here. Minister Tsale was smiling as we came in, because when we got to the gate, the first set of ministers who came in, they were asked, where are you going? They said, we're going to the ranch. And they said, sorry, please park on the side. Yeah, but we're going inside. They said, no one is coming in. But when we've got ministers coming here, they said, well, our order is that no one, not even ministers. So there had to be arrangement to get them to come in. And we thought that happened to them. We had the same thing. We had to be stuck there. So we said to the Premier, please understand that you were also blocked by the police. Their instructions are very strict. Now we're happy, because that's how it's going to be. This coronavirus is an issue of a public health emergency of international concern. The Commander-in-Chief has issued instruction that this must be managed by the Army. Here is the law of the military. So all of us are going to get out of here for good. We won't come back. The quarantine is going to be about people being here. They'll be asked not to mix in big groups, and they must also wear masks if they are going to public places. They'll be given all the necessary protective clothes. They'll be able to move around. They should be able to get they will have their meals. What did I do? Oh, okay, I'll just use my voice. Thank you. Thank you. So what it means is that they'll just be under observation. But if for any reason someone falls ill or someone is found to be positive, they'll be removed from here, immediately evacuated to be taken for treatment. So here, they will not stay anyone who is either sick or has got any evidence of the presence of coronavirus. People who are going to be here are just under observation. I'm making this point continuously because I think it's important for the fake news not to affect our people, to think that we've brought in sick people in Limpopo. There's been a lot of concerns, and some people were saying that we're bringing sick people into this area. There are no patients we're bringing here. There are no sick people that we're bringing here. And the people who are here are not going to mix with anybody, so they're not going to infect anybody. In fact, the crew, the pilots, the staff, the police, the soldiers are all going to be quarantined. They're going to be here. So all in all, they're going to be having quite a number of people here. So all of them agreed, they understand. The crew knows they're going to be here, stay with their people for 3 weeks, and then they'll be out after that. So that is what the whole issue is all about. We have also then engaged the workers. We have made it quite clear that this is a voluntary operation. Whilst they are employees here, they are free to actually work together. So they've raised certain areas of concern. They negotiated certain benefits in the process. I won't go into that because it's their issue. I can just say that we have been quite humbled by the contribution of, I'll mention this one company, and that is Momentum, who have come on board and said they'll partner with government to offer a limited life cover for a number of months, which has been negotiated with the workers just to make sure that no one feels uncomfortable and unhappy here. So they will also be checked so that everyone must be healthy here. All of those things are part of the arrangement that we have put into this. So when we leave here, we will leave the people who are going to be looking after this place to wait for the South Africans to come in. Now, having said so, I may as well just mention to you that the private sector is coming on board to assist in the coronavirus. Already, some of you, I'm not sure how many of you are lucky enough, you could have already received a message on coronavirus that comes from Vodacom. Those who would have must know that this is a contribution of that particular company. in the fight against the coronavirus. We are calling on private sector to rally around working together with government to deal with it. I'm aware that there are many more private sector companies that want to come and work with us as we fight this coronavirus. This is what the President has been talking about. South Africans, when united, will be able to fight this infection, and we can do quite a lot about it. We've already started meeting up with some of the stakeholders. From next week on, you will be able to see that this interministerial team is going to be working out a program where a number of stakeholders will be engaged from next week on, so that particularly the churches, the arts and culture groups, the musicians, the sports people, to transport people and so on, so that we engage with them to look at what needs to be done to fight this coronavirus. So with that, we just want to therefore say we appreciate the private sector having come on board, and want to call on more of the private sector to come and join us in this fight. This is a national fight. This is a fight against an infection that's all over the world, and we believe that these contributions go a long way towards everyone understanding that no one must stand by. We must all stand together and fight this virus. In fact, only if we stood together are we able to fight this virus and defeat it. We need to deal with the myths. I've heard today of a myth which I never understood why people start having this kind of thing, that coronavirus looks at the pigmentation of the individual. The darker you are, you won't get the virus. Please, let's not get that kind of fake news into our minds. Coronavirus doesn't look at your passport, doesn't look at your nationality, doesn't look at your circumstances, whether you are rich or poor, doesn't care if you are within 1 meter of somebody sneezing and has got the virus, droplet infection will hit you. So we need South Africans to know, wash your hands. When you cough, you use a tissue. When you sneeze, you use a tissue. When you stand next to people who are talking or singing or coughing, sneezing, then you stand a little bit of a distance. If you are more than 1 meter away, you are not likely to be infected. If you are less than that, you stand a chance of being infected. But for those who are in our hospitals, they've been well trained, they know how to use protective clothes. And we talk about this as isolation. In the isolation ward, you will come in, the nurse will come in, take off the clothes, or the doctor, then scrub, and then go and get the protective clothes. We call it PPE. That means the hats, the goggles, the mask, the protective clothing. With that, they go and see the patient. When they come back, they drop it there in that area. Then they walk back to clean themselves and move on. They can move back home without a problem because they are clear about it. You just need to make sure you don't break the infection cycle. We are out there also tracing the numbers of contacts, and we would like to say, when we say home quarantine, it's a voluntary quarantine. So please respond and stay at home. And if we say stay at home on a quarantine and you don't respond, then the law allows government to go and actually enforce the quarantine. We don't need to do that. So we just want everyone to know. So for example, in this area, anyone who will wander into this thing, if by any means it so happened that they land in this area and maybe the army, the soldiers didn't see them, maybe the police didn't see them, one thing you must know, they'll never leave. They'll have to stay here in quarantine because they can't come in, get infected, and go out. If there's a potential for them to get infected, we'd rather stay here and say for 14 days, for 21 days, we want to make sure. Why do we make it 21 days? Is the first 14 days is mandatory for the incubation period. Then we start doing the tests. Because there are many people that are going to be testing, we allow a week so that we must be sure that whoever was here has been properly tested, and then therefore when they leave they are actually free of the virus. So, ladies and gentlemen of the media, we're going to continue to work with you on this issue. We really want to thank you for your interest. We also want you to always work with us so that we can deal with fake media. The panic, the anxiety, and the anger, and the discrimination against people who might be having exposure to the virus, those things are more dangerous than the virus itself. We did talk last time on the conference that 80% of the people have got a mild infection, they don't need treatment. Only the 20% can need treatment, and those 20% are the ones who might end up coming to the hospital. Don't be surprised if you hear someone is positive. What are they doing at home? They are at home because there's nothing for the doctor to treat. They are also at home because the doctor does not give injection or tablets for the virus. They do treatment for the conditions and the symptoms that the patient has. As soon as those are over, we no longer need to keep the patient in, as long as the patient is going to stay away from spreading the infection. That is where we are.